My wife just gave birth to beautiful twins, a girl and a boy. I'm happy. I can't wait to raise them. When my wife comes to me with the bright idea that we should give one of the babies up to adoption for her brother, because apparently her brother can't have babies, and I'll get into why, but this is insane and I do not agree to it. First, I want to say that I'm not a regular user. I mostly come here to view this sub when I'm mad at my mother-in-law, so I apologize in advance for formatting errors. For privacy reasons, I'll be mostly using fake names. A quick background. My wife and I have been married for 2 years, but have known each other since I was 9 and she was 7. We were neighbors, and her family lived just a few blocks away from mine. She's from an Asian background, and we're the best friends growing up and started dating when I was 16 and she was 14, but broke up when I left for college at 18. During that time, she had the whole college experience, while I focused more on my education and career, so I never really dated anyone. We reconnected when we were 24 and 22. We dated for 2 years, and eventually we decided to take the next step. I'm the main breadwinner, and right now the only breadwinner. We live modestly in a tiny old home, and we never go hungry, but we do live paycheck to paycheck. With the cost of living skyrocketing lately and wages barely creeping up, we've never been able to save much. Or we save and then some huge things happen that depletes all of our savings. I make less than $60,000 a year, and I'll never make too much more. We live in a simple life with second-hand clothing, old cars, and no real vacations besides driving to another state to visit relatives. Natalie has an older brother, Bruno, who is gay. He and I have never really connected for reasons I've never understood. I'm very supportive and accepting of the gay community, and he was a really good guy, so our lack of any kind of relationship has always bugged me. When I was 20, Bruno called the whole family to tell us he was gay and has been dating a guy who's 7 years older than him, and that he's met in a coffee shop. The guy did not handle it well. I mean, no one knows all the details, but we're pretty sure that they sent him to conversion therapy. They also organized an intervention the weekend of high school graduation and convinced the grandparents to participate by telling them that his boyfriend was a much older predator who was taking advantage of him. My wife was very close with Bruno prior to this, but she has told me that at the time she was not very supportive of him because she was not told accurate information about what was going on. She deeply regrets this, and as soon as Bruno turned 18, he mostly cut off contact with his parents. However, he kept the same phone number and told them where he lived. He also kept showing up randomly to family events every 2 years or so, and for a while, they brought him and his husband, some guy, let's call him Ian, to Christmas presents every year, but their attempts to reconcile with him have been feeble at best and met with apathy. Ian is white and he grew up with a private school, credit cards, and a nest egg to start his life. I'm going to stay away from real numbers. Basically, his passive trust fund income alone would put him in the top 10 percentile in our country. He's helped us pay off our mortgage and credit cards, and also bought me a new expensive vehicle because he needed to spend a huge amount of money of tax purposes. Around 1.5 years ago, Natalie and I found out that she was pregnant, and we were very happy. Then during the ultrasound scans, we found out that we were having twins. While it wasn't something that we had expected, we were overjoyed, and suddenly Bruno kept acting strange. At first I thought, he even said himself, that he was helping us out and trying to make sure that the babies were taken care of, but it got a little too much. He would try to get involved in the name of choice, and with the help of Ian, they set up a nursery and paid for everything. He then started calling Natalie daily and kept inviting himself and Ian for dinners. One day, they came over for dinner, and they brought up the pregnancy again, talking about setting up health insurance and offering financial support. Ian offered to buy all the baby furniture, cover for nanny and daycare expenses, and half the bills, diapers, food, and whatever else we would need help with. Bruno then asked about our plans for the delivery. Natalie said that she was going to give birth in a public hospital. He went on a rant about how neglectful public hospitals can be and said that he was willing to pay for her to give birth at a private hospital. I politely declined and said I was taking care of it, so no worries. Well, he starts to push back, trying to convince me, but I snapped and yelled at him that he was not my baby's father and told him to quit trying to act like he was. He went silent and looked down for some time, then got up and called me ungrateful and selfish for having an attitude when all he and Ian were doing was helping me out. A few days before the due date, Natalie told me that Bruno had expressed an interest in being there while she gave birth, mainly due to it being beneficial from an educational standpoint to see natural multiple births. I said absolutely not. There's no way in hell I was allowing that. I was not even overly keen on allowing her mom to watch her go through it, let alone her brother. She said it would be a good experience for him in his career, and I said that as much as I supported him, her experience of having a pleasant birth was my priority. It basically turned into a huge argument with her parents and Bruno being dragged into it. And anyways, there was a lot of other stuff that happened, but let's flash forward to the delivery date. I was at work when Natalie called me and said, "I think my water broke in the shower. I can't get dry." So I zoomed home, scooped her up and bolted to the door of the hospital, and she gave birth to beautiful twins, a girl and a boy. We named them Luke and Leia. Leia was head down and Luke was breech. Luke was bigger, but everything ended up okay, and the delivery went smooth. I was happy, particularly when the doctor held Luke up. Picture Simba from The Lion King. Yeah, just to show us our baby. It was the most amazing experience to ever be a part of. Then I started to feel lightheaded, probably due to the overwhelming excitement, and ended up having to walk out in order to not pass out in the room. Bruno came to the hospital and walked straight into the delivery room, and I followed him inside. He got upset that he wasn't able to see the birth, and then Luca had gotten hold of his finger, and he took pictures of that, and I asked him to delete them, but he caused a scene, loud enough for other people to hear. His screams almost made the babies cry. They were peacefully sleeping by then, and I asked for a nurse to escort him out of the room, and he got offended and told me that he was their family, and I mentioned that he should begin acting like one if he wanted my respect. He got into a verbal sparring match with me, but in the end he said that he does not want to say more as Natalie's resting, and left. A month later, at a family dinner on New Year's Eve, Bruno and Ian announced that they've been looking to adopt a baby. By the time dinner wrapped up, they asked me if they could adopt Luke, and I could still see him, but they would take care of him. I thought that they were joking, like, what? You would be his guardians or something? They got quiet, and the reality rushed over me. I was appalled. I said I was not giving one of my twins up for adoption. Bruno kept trying to encourage me to give in and said it would be the right thing to do. Well, I pointed out that this was not a movie, and that they can't just get custody, and they start spouting some legal stuff about how I could assign them as guardians, and they would help make this transition smooth, and they told me to think about Luke and what's best for him, and I told them there's no way in hell I was going to give my son up. However, Natalie loved the idea and said that we should do it. I felt a rush of so many emotions, but most of all I was angry. It was just making me feel sick. She seemed as content as she could be with it, and yeah, I called her crazy because she did not consider what it would do to me and how that would mess with my mind, and more importantly, how this would affect our babies. Even if they don't know about each other, they'll feel incomplete. Well, it turned into a huge fight, and I left in the middle of it and crashed on the friend's couch. Ian texted me a rant that night about how I made Bruno cry, how all they wanted was to be parents, and that this meant so much to them, and that I, quote, owed them for everything that they've done for me so far. I told him that I love Luke, and I would never give him up. Then I got a call from him that whether or not they could have Luke, I should apologize to Natalie because apparently she was on their couch devastated. Well, I told him simply that I wasn't going to apologize for doing anything wrong. What? And then I hung up the phone. One of our mutual friends who has fertility issues messaged me the next day asking if I would reconsider because Natalie did not want to raise 2 kids at once. She said that since I did not plan 2 babies, it would not hurt to give away one of the twins, especially when he would still be in the family. I told her no, my baby boy was not going anywhere. She just hung up the phone. Bruno messages me after that, right? Practically begging me to reconsider and give just 1 baby up since I have 1 to spare. I told him, find a woman to have his own kid and leave my son out of it. He said that he wanted a child that was his own flesh and blood and later sent me a Word document. I'm talking 4 pages about how he had always wanted to be a father, how I should care about Luke's happiness and all that, and let them adopt him, and how that they would make better fathers, and I just sent him a long text message explaining that I've had enough of their nonsense and that I was keeping my son and that I recommended that they get some help. Since then, my in-laws have contacted me multiple times with the same suggestion, painting it as something that was best for Luke. But I can take care of Luke. He's never gone hungry. He has clothing, albeit some from Goodwill, some from donations. He just doesn't have handcrafted baby blankets or limited edition toys. Ooh. What he does have is love. His favorite stuffed giraffe even, and the one that I got him when Natalie was pregnant. A love for the park, and he isn't deprived. He has a great life. Natalie told me that they wanted the baby to be closely related and said that she wanted to do it to see her brother's face happy. I was puzzled by, how she's a mother, and she seemed fine with the idea. I told her this, and she was mad. She attacked me and said that I was close-minded, that in her culture, people often give other family members their kid to raise if they're unable to have one of their own, and that I should be proud of her for being kind. She asked me if my resistance was because they were gay. I said no, but she didn't believe me and said that I probably have repressed feelings towards them. I'll spare the rest, but we essentially got into another fight and I raised my voice. After that, she started giving me some alone time every now and then, and I did not notice it immediately. But she starts pulling away from me, and she would not watch movies with me if there were any sad parts, wouldn't tell me the stories that she used to, and would not tell stories to friends when I was around. She stopped reading books in the living room, and would not even talk to her mom on the phone when I was in the room. I felt like I was living with a ghost. She just kept showing that she really didn't care for me. She'd always been the most loving, caring girl that I've ever met. It was like a flip switched. I did my best to have an open environment of conversation with her. She said things like, "We're living in a crappy neighborhood in one of the most expensive cities in America. We can't do it with 2 babies. Bruno and Ian are good people. Luke can have a better life with them, and we can continue on our original path of just having 1 baby." I said, it's not like that. It's not like they offered to take him ever so often. They want him forever, permanently, forever. And there was no way that I could consider that. She then outright demanded that I let them have Luke and mentioned that it did not just want to be raised in a better household. She would consider divorcing me. Divorce? Well, I was shocked by this and asked her if she really wanted to separate twins like that. She replied, saying that it was best for us financially and that she could not raise twins as it would require twice as much energy and commitment compared to 1 kid. She told me this right before I was going to bed, and I was already attached to Luke, and I obviously did not want him taken away from me. I couldn't handle the thought of it, and I didn't want anyone else to raise him. I knew I would struggle so much mentally, and I know too many people who have been ducked up mentally because they were put up for adoption. I could not bear the thought of Luke thinking that his parents didn't want him. My heart and chest physically hurt. I barely slept, and I just wished this never would have happened. Well, I agreed in the end. As I was working with the lawyer, my heart hurt deeper than anything I've ever felt. After going through all the process and all the hearings being scheduled for today, the morning my close friend Jeff called me. Bit of context, guys. Jeff has been a single father to his 16-year-old son, Alex. A few years ago, Ian got an internship opportunity to Alex and to work as his personal assistant. So, in the phone call, Jeff told me that Ian assaulted Alex when they were alone yesterday, and Alex ran out of there and came home. Jeff immediately rushed him to the hospital, and he checked the online child offender registry. Get this. Turns out Ian's a registered offender. He's found the case records, and Ian was messing with a 13-year-old boy when he was 21 years of age. Then he got busted and was sent to the slammer. Wow. He had reduced sentence from the prison because he actually met this boy on a dating app and had dates with him at bars, and you know what? The boy had a fake ID, so he just assumed he was of age. That's what he told the courts at least, and he was only sentenced to 3 years and got out when he was 24. I was basically, too stunned to speak. I just sat in silence for a while with my mind racing. Jeff told me that he was outside Ian's house to confront him, and he sounded angry, so I told him to hold off any confrontation until I get there. And I drove there. I walked into the house and I heard them both chit-chatting. As I walked into the kitchen, Jeff sucker punched Ian right in the face and knocked him down. Jeff had his hockey stick in his hand. He beat his face, chest, arms, and legs. He managed to crack 5 of his ribs in what I can only describe as the fastest, most cathartic, and well-deserved beating ever. Jeff is a big guy and has also become quite the tank, so I knew he could potentially kill him, but I didn't care. I just watched as he beat his face till I couldn't even tell there was a face under there. He wouldn't stop kicking him, even after he passed out. I just waited till he was done. By this time, Bruno arrived, managed to pull Jeff off him, and brought him to the hospital ASAP. So I took Jeff to my place to get him all cleaned up and calm him down. He doesn't want to report the assault to the police because he's worried that the process might re-victimize Alec and subject him to more trauma. I'm sitting on my bed right now, just here waiting for Natalie to return from a doctor's visit. I almost gave Luke to, a person who really likes kids, but not in the way that you want. And I can't believe I even considered giving him up. I feel sick writing this. Ian will never be around my babies again. Anyways, guys, I'm sorry for the long entry. I know it's a lot to unpack. I've never told anyone about this, so I thought I'd share. What's up, everybody? Mr. Reddito here. Today we have an insane story. It's not over, though. There's about to be an insane roller coaster coming up, guys. If you want to subscribe to the channel for daily stories, go ahead, click the button underneath the video. Let's jump into update number 1 and seeing what's going on with OP. Thank you so much for taking the time to comment and message me. I really support it. I would have responded to more, but it's been quite overwhelming. Bruno had told Natalie about what happened, and as I started to talk to her about Ian, she immediately became defensive, going to the extreme of accusing Jeff and me, labeling Ian as a registry male. When I showed her the child offender registry, she started shouting at me saying I was judging him off something that happened a decade ago. Bruno thinks the same. This makes me sick. I told her that you just can't flip a switch to magically turn off their condition of liking kids. She replied that whether I liked it or not, Bruno and Ian were going to be Luke's new father. I was concerned that one day she would be watching Luke while I was away and sneak them over without asking or telling me. In her eyes, Ian deserves to be welcomed back into the family with open arms. So I said that by tomorrow she needs to get out. Away from me, away from my babies, out of our sight. I couldn't leave. I said I absolutely could and that I was done. She then said that she would take Luke with her since Bruno and Ian deserved him more than I do. Well, without saying another word, I got up and packed up some bags and took my babies and left. I told Jeff about the situation and he offered for me to come stay with him for a little while. I then contacted a divorce lawyer. Natalie sent me some text that night and she was acting upset and saying that she missed me. The next day, I knew I needed to go back to my house so that there would not be as much of a chance that I would lose it. Jeff went with him to help, and when we got there, Natalie was trying to talk to me. I had nothing to say to her at the moment, so I just ignored her and tried to get past her. She was grabbing me and trying to hold me, and Jeff helped get her off me and told her that he could call the cops if she did not stop messing with me. She ended up leaving to stay at her parents' house, and I have not heard from her yet. I contacted Ian's parents with the request to sit down and talk about this whole thing. They were shocked that Ian ended up at the hospital and agreed that we should sit down and talk this out. They didn't want to involve any kind of authority with Jeff, and I told them about what Ian had done to Alex, but they did not agree to report it to the police. When I pointed out his past record, they were adamant that he was framed, was innocent, and would never do such a thing. I was overwhelmingly met with, "Oh, you don't actually believe he could do that, do you? He was obviously framed, set up by the police, and police had to meet their quota. You can be listed as an offender for really stupid reasons. I mean, they sound insane." Also, Jeff and I reached out for a few organizations that specialize in assisting survivors, and found out a network of resources just to help Alex cope with the trauma. Alex doesn't want the cops involved and says he can't deal with that. Anyways, there's so much more, but I honestly can't get myself to type it all out. I appreciate you all so much for reading and commenting. Updates. Number 2. Hey guys, I've read and considered the comments under my last post and appreciate them, so here's an update. I don't use Facebook much, but a couple of days ago I logged on to look through my feed and catch up with some friends' updates. I got a lot of messages from family and friends about how I stole Bruno's baby and ruined his life, and I was confused as heck and looked through this page and he has a nursery for Luke. He's absolutely insane. I found a bunch of posts about how generous Natalie was for keeping her promise and giving him a baby. I don't know if people think she was a surrogate or if she was just giving her baby up, but the crazy dude told everyone that Luke is his baby. Yeah, he even starts just posting Natalie's sonogram and captioning it, "Ian and I are expecting." He has pictures of Luke holding his fingers, saying that he, quote, could not wait to bring him home. Guys, I'm lost. I can't wrap my mind around this. He seriously needs therapy, and I've contacted police. They basically said they don't deal with it unless he actually makes a threat, like, quote, "I'm going to take your baby," which he has never said or done, and they even call it cyberbullying. I've already having alarms on our doors that lead outside to all accessible windows because of a break-in that happened to our neighbor a few years back. I even have baby monitors, and both babies stay in our room anyways, or else I would get video surveillance. They have not been out of my sight for more than a few minutes the past few days. Anyways, if he tries to go near me or my babies, I'm getting a restraining order. I already talked to a lawyer, and I have an appointment in a few days. That was advised not to respond to any of the messages. I filed for a contested divorce, and the initial negotiation have started. I also got a promotion at work. I realized that I needed to be more ambitious because I have 2 babies to provide for. A higher position was open at my work, and I asked for a promotion, but they told me I was too young. I offered to do the job as a trial for 1 month without any extra pay, only to prove that I can do it. After a month, they ended up giving me the job. So, anyways, it's 3 a.m., the babies are asleep, I feel like crap, and I'm going to sleep. I'm hoping my next updates will be extremely boring. Just kidding. All about the babies. Update number 3. I finally had a bit of free time, so I don't mind making a post. So far, here's a list of what's been going on since I've last posted about a month ago. Bruno reported me to CPS. He claimed that I'm not taking care of my baby's needs and being busy with work and other things I don't know about. They did a surprise visit, and thank goodness I went well with them, and although I was told to deal with some issues that are normal in every family. I told my in-laws about what Bruno did, but they didn't do anything. My in-laws have the spare key to my house. Yeah, I totally forgot about that. And while Bruno was over at their house for brunch, he took the key. While I was out with my babies, He broke into our house and stole all the clothing, blankets, nappies, bottles, pretty much any other item except furniture, and he's out of his ducking mind. They were later returned after my mother-in-law found them in her car. I called emergency services, but they told me I could not do anything about it because I had no proof, since they were all returned anyways. My lawyer contacted a judge and we got an emergency restraining order. We have a hearing date for a more permanent order, but it's in 3 weeks, and the emergency order only lasts 5 days. Once the 5-day approaches, we'll be requesting a temporary restraining order to last until our hearing. At our hearing, we'll be getting a DVRO, domestic violence restraining order, and I'll be requesting that this be permanent. I had the locks changed, cameras installed, Ring doorbell, you name it, I got it. I have my baby's birth certificate in a safe place. My babies make me happy. I could not fathom losing them, and I'd also been seriously documenting everything. Bruno actually stood on the stoop for 20 minutes a few days ago, banging on my door and just yelling. I told him that if he did not leave, I would let the dog out, and threatened to call the police as well. I have a rather small but hyper puppy who jumps on everyone and barks a lot, and Bruno's quite scared of dogs. So this actually made him leave. I went to the store yesterday to get some needed items, and he was following me. He didn't even pretend like he was buying anything, and he had just come up to me and started cussing me out, saying he deserved to see Luke, and I'm going to hell for getting a restraining order against him. I stayed calm. Even when he pushed me a couple times, he would not leave, so the store manager actually called the police after I did. And you know what? He got arrested. So at least he'll be gone for a few days at most. I reported the pictures and messages on Facebook, and I filled out some forms, and so far nothing's happened. My lawyer helped me write out a post clearing up all the accusations. I posted it yesterday. I made it clear that A, Natalie never agreed to any sort of agreement with Bruno or Ian. B, the 3 of them have been pestering me for a long time to give up my twins. And C, I only found out recently just how long Bruno has been lying to everyone. D, I now consider the situation a mental health issue on Bruno's part, and that Natalie's enabling his continued delusion. Oh yeah, and we better not forget about Ian assaulting my friend's son. And F, my divorce is ongoing. And finally G, I will not be in contact with any of them. I got a bunch of replies immediately, but I logged out because I didn't feel like dealing with it quite yet. Once the pictures get deleted from Luke's page, I will be deleting my Facebook for good. After a lot of therapy, Alex finally worked up the nerve to confront Ian. It took him 3 hours to make a perfect message, and he even wrote the rough draft in a Word document. Ian's response, I don't remember. Yeah, he also made the disgusting comment, and I quote, maybe right person, wrong time, but deleted it immediately. He doesn't act like he regrets any of it. So Jeff and Alex have finally reached out to the police and made a report on it, and they plan on making an arrest once he's well enough to leave the hospital's care. I can't remember what else I wanted to write, but when I remember it, I'll edit the post. Also, I'm going for a walk with the babies, so I won't be able to answer comments or questions until I get back. Update number 4. Quick update. Hey everyone. Ian was arrested last week. He's being held without bail and is looking at significant prison time. The last 5 days went from denial, and I quote, I would never do that to anyone, to terror, many years in prison, to action. Private defense attorney evaporating tens of thousands of dollars with one signature, to confusion. What? It happened in the basement? Many people are still in blind denial, and when the police saw him, the lieutenant actually fist-bumped Jeff and told him nice work. The restraining order went through, and my in-laws are having Bruno committed for 72 hours against his will. Psychiatric hold. He's diagnosed with delusional disorder. I haven't heard from him since then and don't even know what more damage was done, and honestly, I don't care. I'll update everybody again if anything goes down. I'm hoping this is the end, and I'm very grateful for all the kind people who supported me during this awful time. Final update. Oh boy. I don't think many of you remember me. 2 years ago, around the same time now, my brother-in-law's husband Ian was arrested for assaulting my friend's son Alex. I posted the whole video scenario without knowing that I was seeking anything from you guys in the beginning. So, the enormous support I've had on this thread to vent about it helped me so much. I thought I would come back and owe you guys an update for checking on me and helping me out. I mean, it's been 2 years. My divorce was finalized last year. I had my lawyer file for child support after I had full custody. Natalie did not like it and wasn't expecting me to get full custody. She actually called me names and various insults and all that, but I didn't say anything. Just the communication should go through my lawyer. She said she regrets making it easy for me to get our children, and the child support order was formalized yesterday, and she's now paying me the majority of her salary for her new job. Taking care of my toddlers is difficult, but certainly worth it. I feel like I have something to live for. My neighbors have been so helpful, and Luke and Leia are doing great. They're doing awesome. They smile so much, and we'll soon be leaving for our 2-week getaway in Hawaii. And I'm terrified of taking them on a plane. I'm thinking about making little bags with earplugs and candy or something for the passengers that we're sure to annoy. When we get back, we'll be moving out of state, meaning I will lose my job, but I'm pretty sure I'll get a higher paying job after this. Hopefully, never have to deal with those ridiculous people again. Thank you guys for everybody who's helped out and helped me push through it. I really appreciate it. So, I was reading the comments on this one, and it just appears that the worst part of the story for a lot of viewers was the fact that OP's wife really didn't care about the allegations of Jeff and the fact that he was convicted and had to serve time in prison. She was more than willing to give away her baby boy, and a lot of commenters were just ripping her to pieces. Some people were even going as far as saying Jeff deserved it. He deserved to be going to the hospital, to prison, and he deserved to have his butt beat. I want to know your thoughts on today's story, guys, so drop it in the comment section down below. Let's discuss it. This story was wild. And if you enjoy these sort of videos, just know I post stories every day, so make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Thank you so much for that, guys. Have a fantastic day, and of course, remember, it's cool to be kind. See ya.